So question number 44 from 100 questions every first-time home buyer should ask is, do you need to hire a real estate attorney? This section here was actually quite eye-opening for me because I've been in real estate. I've been selling real estate for almost 15 years now. Wait, is it 15? No, next month it'll be 15 years. Next month it will be my 15-year anniversary. And I've never had anybody ask me about hiring a real estate attorney, right? So this was quite an eye-opening segment of the book for me because I learned something as I was preparing this content for you all. So let's kind of go through it. So in a traditional transaction, you usually just have an agent and a title attorney. So an agent would be your representative. And then once you go into contract, that information, your contract will be sent to the title attorney. And then that person has a whole list of activities that we're going to kind of get into towards the end. Well, this book kind of recommends that you think about, or at least you know about, a real estate attorney and what that person does. Well, the reason why I drew these stick figures here is because I don't want you to think that the real estate attorney is a replacement for the title attorney. We're going to get into what are the differences between these two individuals, but this is essentially another person added to the transaction that you should know about. So now with the real estate attorney, this person is licensed to practice real estate law. They're not a real estate agent though. So this isn't a person that will replace anybody in the process. You're just going to add this person to the process, right? So this person advises parties involved in the real estate transaction. So that means that either the buyer or the seller could hire this person. So this isn't exclusive to any one part of the process. And this person shouldn't be confused with the title attorney, title agent, or settlement. So now what's the difference? A title attorney is really somebody that's a part of the normal part of the transaction. A title attorney is the person that makes sure that all of the documents are prepared. They make sure they communicate between the lender and the buyer, right? Because usually there's a transfer of money from the lender to the seller, and they're like the intermediary, right? So they're the person in the middle. They also make sure that you have our legal title to the property. So they make sure that the seller can sell the property, and they make sure that the buyer is the right person to buy the property. So the same person that's on the contract should be the person that's going to be transferred the property. They also secure the money that is also exchanged in the process. So you'll notice that, if we have $500,000, $700,000, $1 million properties, that's a lot of cash to be moving around. The title company manages all those documents, or all that transferring of funds. And then lastly, they also file and record the title with the county, and also the deed, right? Title deed, those two different things. We may talk about that in the future. Now, the one thing you should know though is that the title attorney will not provide you with legal advice. I have been in situations where there's a closing, there's like some questions that come up about the documents, and the title attorney will kind of infer or give off this presence of being an attorney for my client, right? So either the buyer or the seller, and that's just not the case. This person is a representative for the contract for the property, which we'll get into a little bit further. The one thing you should know is that the title attorney is not there for you. They're not there for you. They're there for the house. Now, the real estate attorney, this is a person that you hire to represent you. Unlike a real estate agent has a vested interest in you selling or completing the transaction, right? So a real estate agent could never have an unbiased opinion. Yes, real estate agents have the perspective of having a fiduciary duty, but that fiduciary duty, which means that we're supposed to put your interest above our interest, still comes into question when you consider the fact that I don't get paid, or a real estate agent doesn't get paid until the transaction is concluded. But a real estate attorney, this is somebody you pay. You've already paid them to actually perform a service for you. So they have no vested interest in seeing the property close. So this is really a person who doesn't have a biased opinion. This is also the only person in the transaction who could provide you with legal counsel. They can give you a legal opinion. They could actually tell you A plus B equals C. this will happen if you do this, or could happen. Your real estate agent can't do this. The title attorney can't do this. Only the real estate attorney. The real estate attorney could also write a contract, which is different from an agent, myself, completing or filling out standard forms. With the real estate agent, our forms are actually created by attorneys that work for the board, that work for the state, and then real estate agents are trained to fill out those forms. Whereas a real estate attorney, they could actually draw up a contract. You see this a lot more in commercial real estate because commercial real estate transactions have a lot more variety in them than residential. In addition to this, they can also track all the little details throughout the transaction, but this is no different than a real estate agent. Real estate agents provide you a similar service. I mentioned this earlier. A real estate attorney represents you. The title attorney represents the property. This can be confusing because you want the property, so you may think that the title attorney is representing you. That's not true. That's not true. There is a clear chain of ownership that the title attorney is protecting. The title attorney is there to ensure that the owner successfully, or the current seller successfully transfers the property to the new buyer, right? And then those records are being maintained, right? So the title attorney is there to kind of protect the sanctity of the home ownership or ownership interest, right? Whereas a real estate attorney, this is a person that is here to protect you, the individual. All right. So is it worth it? Is the cost worth it? Now, I already told you, I've been selling real estate for 15 years. There hasn't really come a point in a transaction where an attorney, a real estate attorney was really needed, because most residential transactions are very simple. They're very common. And in America, I think there's like 5 million transactions a year. So you can see how everybody wouldn't have hired a real estate attorney. Right. This book brings up a good point, which is if you're buying something that's several $100,000, does it make sense to just get like an attorney just to review some things for you? I don't know. And again, I have a biased opinion towards this because as a real estate agent, removing a lot of friction from the table causes my clients to actually buy properties quicker, right? So adding another person to the transaction from a real estate agent perspective will, quote unquote, complicate the process. Again, real estate agents have a biased opinion. So since a real estate agent has a biased opinion, in addition to serving you, they're also focused on making a commission. So you see how this is a little challenging, right? Residential contracts are pretty simple. It's a pretty simple process. Commercial transactions, there's a lot more on the line. So you'll see why those instances, they usually use real estate attorneys, right? When can they come in handy? So there's a couple opportunities for real estate attorneys to really earn their wages, right? If you don't believe that this transaction is going to be straightforward, then you probably want to have an attorney come into the situation, right? You probably want to consult with an attorney. Also, if you've been burned in the past, right? So maybe you have a negative experience, you probably want to bring in a real estate attorney. Maybe there's a potential legal dispute, bring in a real estate attorney. Now, with the legal dispute side, that's uncommon. And also, you really won't know if you'll need an attorney until the legal dispute happens, right? So this is another case where you want to make sure you're working with a real estate agent who has access to a large network, and then they could help you solve your problem through their community of people, right? So that's it. So that's question number 44. Do you need to hire a real estate attorney?